Is that okay?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Vinyl Vixen and Slim Shetty here at Wrapsesh.
What's up, guys?
So this week we're going to be doing a wrap tutorial on a Harley motorcycle tank featuring KPMF.
The Sportster tank.
Yep. We were using KPMF Ice Red Titanium, I think it was.
This is a pretty gnarly film to do to tank because it's like a pretty rigid film. So.
It's a higher tack film, a little harder to work with, but amazing nice finishes, and it is a high quality film. So check it out. We hope you guys enjoy.
All right, so we're about to do this side piece here. We're doing this whole tank in this red titanium aluminum. It's a KPMF, I believe that's what it's called.
Ice titanium.
Ice titanium, yeah. So we have laid knifeless here on the bottom and in the front. We're gonna do, I already did this side over here, we're gonna do this piece now, and we're gonna actually do two pieces on the top creating a fuse. We'll explain that later. But for right now, we're just gonna pull this backing and we're gonna heat this film up really good. You wanna get it super hot, that's why we're using an IR heater, because not only this film is really brittle, but we're doing a very hard stretch right now. So we wanna have it nice and gooey.
And it cools very quickly.
This film does cool very quickly. Plus it's a little cold in here for what it should be. But so we're gonna hit the front of this tank right on the main apex, and we're gonna pull around. We'll probably have to reheat at one point, but I'm just gonna grab a little bit down here, continue heating.
A couple more.
All right, 1, 2 more.
1,
2. Hit that. Nice and easy. Follow them up. That actually went smoother than I thought it was gonna go.
Get a relief, can't get your knife.
Let's cut that down. Go ahead. So you cut all that excess away just because it's a mess. It can really mess you up.
You don't have to heat up as much.
Yeah. So you don't want to heat right on the edge where the seam is, just enough. And then what we're gonna do is tug it one more time just to get that line out of there and pull right around that corner. Because this is gonna, when I reheat this now that it has a ton of stretch on it, what it should do is it'll just kind of want to eat that corner. Get all these out there. Now, kind of reheat. And you just kind of go around there. So that was a pretty good pull there. Just get all that excess out. There's gonna be a little air in there. This is our line. I'm just working this down right to my line on the bottom, which it ends right on a weld, which is a nice spot to end. And it just makes it look natural. And then, so over here in the front, I'm just gonna kind of relief cut some material away with my knife. Right here. All right. Since I don't need this, take all that away there. Get rid of these little wrinkles here. And you'll see the material move a lot when I heat it just because of how much stretch is actually on it. Going back Just a little farther. And this is a ton of stretch. And I wouldn't do this if I was just doing a normal seam probably. But since we're doing a full fuse over this seam, it's not gonna fail. So I'm just shrinking up this film so I can get it around all of this stuff up front. A couple welds up here I'm trying to get to. I'm working it in. Cut all this off. Try not to cut anything behind you. Always want to make sure whatever's behind you not going to get cut. So right here, I probably wish we could have got a little more stretch here, but it should work. Shrinks up pretty good. I'm just going to keep that tension and pull right down and around. Get out of there. So once this material heats up, it's very nice and malleable. Stretches really well. It doesn't discolor. Alright, so we're to our line now. Just gonna match the rest of it. Alright. Almost burned my cameraman here.
Oh, almost burnt your leg.
Done that before.
Half move or something.
I definitely recommend using a heat gun on any tank that you use. Torches are frowned upon when you're doing next to gas lines, you know? So I'm to my line all the way around now. I'm just gonna do a quick post seat on my line just to get it down really nice. Because honestly, if the line isn't, or if the material isn't nice and laid down over the line, if there's a gap between it, it actually will rip it, and you don't want that.
Get the handle straight above your head as much as that.
Yeah, so felt that. So just kind of cutting some excess up the front of here so I can get to my lines. All right, and always remember what line you put first, what line you put down last, because that's the first one you're gonna pull. And I believe I did this middle one last. So, just gonna take my knife and put that back there. Don't need that. You'll notice I covered this, I actually put clear bra over this, just because if you don't, it has pretty strong fumes and you're working with flames and you don't want that. So do what you can to cover that. So this front piece, I actually did a whole, it's got a butt seam here, so that's just right up to each other. There's no overlap yet. And that's actually gonna be covered completely all the way in the front, and you're not gonna notice it, so. Pull this one here. got one more down here. Tucked into that weld. And I'm gonna take my knife on this front part over here and I'm gonna trim a little bit of this off. Just enough. I'm gonna tuck right into that weld. Nice PG. Nice and tight there. I'm actually gonna cut right on this weld, very lightly, just because it gives me a place for my blade to sit in. And I'm just gonna bring that out. That way it's cut right up to that. And there's actually a spot for my blade inside of this. So I'm just gonna cut this. And this bottom section is going to be heated and kind of just pulled around the back side, and then we're going to lamb strip that. Now, I'm going to go through this now with a red pin. And that way this will hold down right around over this, and then it'll, and that's after we do this, all the main seam, the fuse. So, now I'm gonna go through the bottom, lay some lamb strip, and then continue on to my other piece. I'm gonna be laying a line right on the inside of this line here, and we're gonna lay down a whole piece of red, and then after that, we're gonna lay a piece of tape on the outside of this, right to where it starts to drop off, and that's gonna be our last piece, which will be just the edge of the vinyl, because this will be bridged completely over. So you won't see any seams, it's just gonna have a edge of the film coming down here, which is gonna look really clean. And we'll get to that. All right, so this top piece I put on here, I actually threw a piece of knifeless right on the edge of my vinyl to where this is actually going to be butt right next to the edges. And so this one is actually, you're gonna see probably a little small black line through here once I pull this line off, and that's okay as long as it's small enough to where it'll bridge and not actually fall into. So it's got to be kind of tight. It's a little bit of a tricky thing to do, but it's gonna turn out really nice. So I'm just gonna get this bottom tucked down real quick so I can pull my knifeless. And then we're actually gonna throw another piece on top of this piece, which creates the fuse. So now I have this down all the way, I'm gonna pull my line, trim all this excess off. Make sure your line's nice and tight before you pull it. So if I did this right, it should be perfectly butt seamed right to itself, right to each other, without having a gap, or a very, very small gap. smash it down really good. Make sure those edges are down. I'm gonna go back over with a heat gun just to get that pushed down nicely. Because what happens is when you pull that string through the film, especially on a rigid film like this, it actually kind of pulls it up, pulls the adhesive up through it, and throwing the heat on there kind of relaxes that edge back down. You just don't want to see this as much as possible. All right. So now I'm going to be laying a line right here on the outside edge of this, and it's going to cover this entire seam for me. And then as well as this seam right here, I'm actually going to bring the knifeless down, and it's going to attach right to these. So this whole top surface is going to be completely covered.
Thank you guys so much for watching this week. We hope you enjoyed our wrap tutorial on a motorcycle tank wrap featuring KPMF. If you guys want to go all over wrap fantastic with a vehicle wrap from Wrapsesh, make sure to reach out to us at wrapseshaz@gmail.com. You can follow us on Things and Stuff. Facebook.
That's not where it is.
I'm saying what it is, man. Facebook and Instagram and TikTok at Wrapsesh AZ, as well as Vinyl Vixen Wraps. And you can subscribe and Things and Stuff if you feel like it.
You can do that.
We love you to the moon and back, and we'll see you later.
Later.
Where do I go? Oh, whoa! Why you do that?
You were supposed to.
I was twisted. I couldn't go anywhere.
I didn't know your legs were twisted.
You saw me.
You're trying to ballerina.
Ow.
Just hit yourself.
I'm fine.